You're listening to the Hello Awesome podcast, and this is episode number 96. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Here we are, another Monday, another brand new episode of the podcast. I'm so glad that you are here. If you are new, I am JC, and I host the Hello Awesome podcast every week where we talk about real topics for believers. Before we get started here, I wanted to share with you a new product that just was added to the shop. As the warmer weather is coming around right now and winter is gone, thank you, Jesus, we have hats ready to order. They are so cute, I know, because I have them both and I rock them all the time. There are two designs. The first one is a black hat with white hand lettering that says hope, and the other one is khaki with lettering that says pray big. Now, I love them so much. They are distressed and they are comfortable and easily can fit on any head because they have a Velcro back, which is perfect for me. My head is super small. Everybody teases me about it, but they fit me just fine. So go to helloawesome.live to grab yours today and use code HELLO10 for 10% off your entire shop order. Now, I'll be rocking mine continually throughout the spring and summer. I want you to grab some. Let's be twins. So stop by the Hello Awesome shop to claim yours right now. All right, you may know her as Apostolic Beauty 98 on Instagram. Brooke Buchanan joins me in today's episode, and it is a good one. Brooke talks about becoming a newlywed and what took her by surprise the most. She shares some powerful insights about submission, something we don't ever really talk about, ministry, having fun with modest fashion, and the importance of mental health. You guys know I love talking about mental health. It is important to us as Christians to have these open conversations about it. I have an entire season dedicated to mental health. If you want to go back, I believe it was season 2. I really am blessed by what Brooke has shared today, and I know you will be too. So let's not waste any more time. Make sure you leave a positive review in iTunes if this episode speaks to you. It would be such a blessing. Okay, guys, here is episode number 96 that I am calling Ministry, Modesty, and Mental Health with Brooke Buchanan. Hey guys, I'm JC. Are you ready for real conversations about faith, business, and life? Me too. This is the Hello Awesome podcast, where I bring forth topics and truthful insights that will encourage you to make intentional choices and pursue God with your whole heart. Are you ready to say hello to the awesome blessings that God has for you? All right, let's do this. The Hello Awesome podcast is sponsored by some good friends who want to give you a special treat just for showing up. If you're looking for super cute, modest clothing that is both classy and fun, Nuggles has you covered. Use code HelloAwesome10 for 10% off at www.nuggles.us. That's www.nuggles.us and stock up on essential yet affordable apparel right now. If this windy weather is leaving your skin crying out for help like mine, Oneness Essentials has what you need to be nourished again. Their handmade lotions and soap bars are seriously heavenly and smell amazing. Use code HelloAwesome at onenesssoapbiz.com for 15% off your next order of bath and body products today. That's ONENESSSOAPBIZ.com. Are you in love with a good scrunchie? If you know me, then you know my answer is duh. And my favorite ones are from Vida. These are high quality, handcrafted scrunchies straight out of Indy. Seriously, they're perfect for long hair. Use code PODCAST for 10% off to pick up a handful of scrunchies like the popular crushed velvet or satin bow at sewvida.com. That's SEWVIDA.com. Go grab a bunch to add to your collection or give away as the perfect gift. I want to give a big shout out to those of you who are working in the medical field, especially our nurses and technicians. Bravo to you guys. Y'all are the real MVPs. If you need comfortable scrub skirts so that you can serve others while sticking to your modest lifestyle, See Saucy is the place for you. Use code HELLO10 for 10% off your entire order right now when you check out at csaucy.com. That's CSAUCY.com. Go invest in a comfortable scrub skirt right now with See Saucy so that you can just focus on your patients and continue on being a light. Okay, who says athletic wear is boring? Not with Snoga Athletics. With so many fun colors and designs to choose from, you no longer have to struggle to stay modest when you are ready to be active. Use code JC10 for 10% off your minimum purchase of $20 and get free shipping on orders of $120 or more. This code doesn't apply to the Courtney T. Oliver collection, and it's valid through April 30th at midnight. That code is JACY10 for 10% off your minimum purchase of $20 right now at SnogaAthletics.com. That's SNOGAATHLETICS.com. Hey guys, it's JC here. Welcome back to the Hello Awesome podcast. I am pleased to bring you another guest. Here with me today is Brooke Buchanan. I have met her, quote unquote, met her on Instagram a while back actually, and I'm just so impressed with her posts and her love of style and fashion, and we're going to talk about that today. And thank you so much, Brooke, for coming on the podcast and just being with us. I want you to just take a minute to share who you are, what you do, and where people might know you from.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am Brooke, otherwise known as Apostolic Beauty 98 on Instagram. I currently work as a customer service specialist for a warehouse. And also I'm a newlywed. And I was the real McCoy for She's for Christ in 2013. And I went on a missions trip to Japan from AYC and also went to South Africa, Johannesburg. So that might be a few places where people know me, but I'm mostly known on Instagram. So that's mostly where I get most of my friends or, social media friends out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I was telling my husband the other day because he's not social media savvy at all. He doesn't care about any of it, which is actually a blessing. And I was calling everybody my digital pen pals. And I thought that was like the perfect thing because we do write letters. They're just in comments and DMs.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely I'll catch myself writing books to people that probably has never met me. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I'm just basically talking to these people like they're my best friends. And sometimes it's just, I'm that type of person though. I just put my whole life out there with no shame at all.
Well, I love that actually about you, how honest and straightforward you are in sharing your life. And congrats on being a newlywed, by the way. I saw you sharing that, and I was so happy for my digital friend to get married.
Thank you.
And I know a lot of people don't know this, but you and Mandy Bowen are sister-in-laws.
Yes,
and I think that's so cool because we're all part of the same circles on Instagram, and I've had her on the podcast, so it's really cool to have you now. It's like this whole family affair.
Yes, a lot of people don't realize that we're actually sister-in-laws until they'll see a picture of us two and they're like, wait, you're Mandy Bowen's sister-in-law? I'm like, yeah, that's me. Me and her met before her and my brother met. So I always say I've known her the longest because I met her before he did.
I love that. Yeah, I love your, story of how you met your husband, and I want you to share that with us. How did your love story unfold?
Yeah, so we're kind of the modern day fairy tale. It happened with a Facebook message. He commented made a post on Facebook. I didn't even realize we were Facebook friends. I tend to be the type, if I see they're apostolic and they have a few mutual friends, I'll be like, okay, I'll add you,
Same.
But I looked, I was looking through Facebook and I saw where somebody said, "What's something fun to do in New Orleans?" And I've been there a few times. With Shoes for Christ, they did a C31 challenge with Mississippi. And so we would go every single year if you raised $931. And so we would go through that. And then I was like, oh, well, let me comment. Cause I mean, I know a few fun things to do. And he messaged me from that. And it kind of became a whole love story. We started dating October 5th of 2018. We got engaged in June of 2019. And then we got married in November of 2019. So it kind of definitely happened very fast, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That is just so incredible. I love hearing stories that are just different that way. You know, people can bash social media all they want, but
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of good things if we're using it the right way. You know, you just wanting to help somebody and you know found the love of your life. That's amazing.
Yes, and that's what recently I went back and it was about it was about March of that year. I told God, I was like, "Okay, God, I'm not dating anybody else. I'm tired of bad relationships.
Mm,
Not necessarily bad relationships, but every relationship would just hit a door and you hit a wall and I'm just like, I'm tired of it. I'm not going to do it unless you sit somebody right in front of my face, come down to earth as a human being and say, "This is the one. I'm not talking to anybody anymore." And of course, that's an irrational thing to think, but you get so tired of hitting these walls, but it's because you're trying to
mhm.
make your own plan. And then we come to here and he just randomly, I just comment on some random person's thing and he messages me and I'm like, "Okay, God, I'll give it one more try." And this time it was definitely God's will.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool because one of the things that honestly, for any relationship, we find out this real quick when we first start
Mhm.
in a relationship, whether we get married or not, is communication. And so,
Mhm.
just that confidence to message you and talk to you,
Mhm.
just goes to show that he wasn't afraid to just, make the first move, at least to communicate and to talk. And hopefully, you've seen that throughout your marriage so far as just
Oh
having that
yes.
foundation to just be open with each other like that.
Yes, definitely.
So, you know, uh, man, it's so different because you just got married and I'm over here on like the 11th year, which is crazy. It is crazy and it will go by, but you know, I start thinking about all the things that I've learned so far and it's a lot. But there was so many things that I learned quickly in like the first couple months and I wanted to know if there was any unexpected thing that you've learned so far being married that you were like, "Oh, I didn't even think this would be like an issue," or
Mhm.
just surprised you?
You know, you hear a lot of times people are like, "Oh, you learn so much about a person when you get into a marriage," but you don't realize I've learned so much about myself
Yes.
being in marriage because I live my life, of course I had amazing parents, I had siblings and all that, but I was kind of like on my own independent. I was, it was Brooke's way or the highway type thing. And I had to learn to let go of that control. I didn't realize that I had issues trusting somebody to take the reins. And that's
Mhm.
something that's absolutely important in marriage is you have to submit and let your husband take the reins and take that spiritual authority. And that was something that I struggled with for the first few months because I was like, this is not the way I did it. But,
Mhm.
when you get into marriage, he has the spiritual burden of you and your whole entire life. He holds that burden and he has a lot of weight on him. And so to make those decisions are very important. And I had to learn to let go of the reins and say, okay, he has to make these decisions for us. I can put in my thought, and I'm a very outspoken person. So I definitely put my opinion in,
Mhm.
but I had to learn to let go and say, okay, you can take the reins in this. You make the decision. Whatever you say goes. And
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most hardest things that I did because I'm a control freak. I want everything my way.
Same. Yeah.
And that is not, I mean, it's a good trait to, because I'm very itinerary, I'm very lined up. Everything has to go the way I planned for it, or something's going wrong. But in life, in marriage, I've had to learn I can't be that anymore. And even in ministry, in God's plan, you can't be a control freak. And that's something that I've kind of had to break the mold in my marriage, is like I've had to say, okay, I can't control some things. And so definitely just learning that I had almost trust issues. And that was something hard for me to take in and say, okay, I've got an issue. And you try to put the blame on them and say, well, it's their fault. They're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. But
Yeah.
looking in the mirror and saying, okay, I have a problem. That's the hardest thing to do as flesh and as a human, because you want to see yourself as in the right. And that's definitely something that I've learned in marriage, is having trust for your spouse and reeling everything in yourself and saying, okay, I got to let go. Definitely having trust and letting go is something that I've learned is very important in marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't change much, but you do learn that self-control. I mean, you learn that fruit of the spirit real quick. At least we should.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like you said, it's not that being strong-willed or being a strong person is a negative thing. But when it comes to like a partnership or a marriage, we are a team. And so I think that it's okay to say your opinions, obviously, and it's okay to be outspoken, and they should let you do that, and vice versa. But it's one of those things that they do carry a lot of weight on their shoulders, and there's a lot of heaviness, for the burden to lead. And so I know that's a huge struggle of mine. I mean, growing up, just being Hispanic is just, got that fire in you, that Hispanic
Yes.
fire. And I just want to have that attitude back. And I just want to, just like kind of be all nippy all the time. But I just feel like you said, it's really showing what's inside of me and what God has to work in me. And it's not saying that, God's not going to change our personality. I think He gave us a personality for a reason, but it's to give us an opportunity to be humble, I think. And that is really a huge lesson to learn.
Yeah. And one thing that I've learned mostly just period, as like even just in marriage and ministry and everything, is your thoughts can be flesh and your opinions can be flesh. And you may think at that moment that something is the best decision you've ever made, and it come back to bite you, because you're thinking in, or I'm thinking in Brooke's mind. I'm thinking of what Brooke wants to do. I'm thinking of what Brooke thinks is best for my family. But that's not the way it goes. We have to consider what God thinks is best. And we live in a world right now, and, it's absolutely crazy. And, everything's twisty, turny. And we live in a world that being a woman is kind of like, a lot of people take that as a term of empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great thing. Being empowered as a woman is absolutely amazing. I believe in that. But we almost let go of that thing that God laid as a law many, many, many years ago. And God's words never changed,
Yeah.
And so for me, I was just thinking, oh, I'm an empowered woman. I can, it's my way or the highway. But over me is God. And though I want to be this empowered and, bad to the bone and what I say goes, and I'm a boss lady, I have to step back and say, okay, that's not what God's called me to be. God's called me to be, yes, an empowered woman, but also a submitted woman. And I have to be submitted to His will and His way. And that's something that I think a lot of people have lost sight. It's great to be, it's great to be empowered, but we must also be submitted.
That's incredible. Honestly, that's really a word. It's something that I think we've lost sight of, because I don't know if people know how to speak about it or teach on it without it turning into something that it's not. And
Absolutely.
and yes, this is going to be a struggle for all of us, because like you said, our thoughts can be flesh, our opinions can be flesh. I mean, we're not separated from those things. We have to see what he wants for us to do, and in submission there is power. But it's a
Yes.
holy power. It's a new power. I mean, I think about um, something that's come to my mind, especially, being strong-willed and stuff like that when you have disagreements or arguments or whatever. And this could be for marriage or life or ministry. If somebody if somebody's in opposition of you as far as like opinion and you want to, let's say, state your claim, we have to ask ourselves, why do I feel like I have to fight for this? You know what
Yes.
I mean? Why is this such an issue inside of me? Is it so hard for me to let this go? And if it is, why? Is it something within me that God needs to work on? And sometimes it's not saying that, like you said, we can't have opinions and be strong women. We can't, be a boss lady or anything like that. But it's just saying that, we have to be accountable for what we say and what we do, how we feel, how we think, especially when we're in that moment of friction with our spouse and with other people in general, but especially at home. And one thing I had to really do is practice pausing. I mean,
Hmm.
just stop talking, JC. Like you're saying a lot of words and they're filled with like nothing good. So just
Yes.
like stop. And so I think it goes back to that self-control, and there's so much honor in just even just submitting that part of like your flesh of wanting to always have the last word or always wanting to be opinionated about this certain thing, just practicing that pause so that God can kind of step in and kind of whisper to that overflowing anger fountain inside of you and like hush that, the storms of like, the water that's just like splashing in your inside of you, and just kind of
Yeah.
calm that storm that's inside of you, and you feel his peace, and hopefully that'll help you, guide the conversation in a more better way.
Well, and if you look at a Proverbs 31 woman, you read through that passage, you never read that, you read, she works willingly with her hands. She provides for her family. She considers a field and buys it. She is clothed in strength and dignity. You don't hear she got to say her opinion. You don't
Mm.
hear she got her way. You hear of a woman who worked, who submitted herself, and you hear of a woman who was just followed after God. And that's who we need to strive to be. You know, and I feel chills just when I'm about to say this. We get so caught up and think I need to be heard. I need to have my thoughts out there. I
Mm.
need my opinion told. It's about me. But we lose the sight of who it's about. It's about God. It's not about my opinion. It's not about my wants, my desires, my needs. It's about God. And, I strive every day to be this Proverbs 31 woman, but we don't want to be submitted as a Proverbs 31 woman. And
Mm.
so we have to find that middle ground. I always hear it, there's power. It says obedience is better than sacrifice in the Bible. I mean, that's God's word.
Yeah.
Obedience is better than sacrifice. Submission is better than putting your opinion out there, just being submitted. And I mean, opinions are great. And, if you have something to say that's going to uplift people, that's amazing. But sometimes we just have to stand and be submitted in silence, and that's okay.
Right. And I think what we have to really look at is silence does not mean you lost power.
Mhm.
And we feel in this society, especially like you were saying, if you are a woman, you have to speak up, you have to be loud, you have to be bold. And God really showed me this a long time ago. And it's something that I've just tried to obviously work on every single day. But, sometimes like the bravest thing you can do is be quiet. And it's not saying that, we live in a dictatorship, or it's like our
Absolutely.
husbands are like tyrants. Honestly, I'm pretty sure our husbands are probably like the sweetest men alive. I'm just
Yes.
sure. Um, and obviously they love us because they stayed with us. No, but But we have to get out of this mindset of thinking that if you're silent, that means you don't have power. That means you don't have influence. Just your presence alone has so much more influence than you could even dream of. And
Absolutely.
sometimes actions, just you having that self control to being quiet and being a better listener, being just that helpmeet for our husband, sometimes that's going to just do more spiritually for the situation and for us.
Absolutely.
So I could talk honestly about this for so long. Um,
Yes.
because I think it's so important. And what I love about what you were saying is that, first of all, I love your passion behind it. And I love your conviction behind it because there are not a lot of young women out there who feel this way. And I think some of them want to. I do feel like some of them want to, but I do feel like they are just in battle with their flesh. And I think it's a lot of it has to do with what we're fed by the media, by
Hmm.
whether it's social media or just the regular media. We have to look at the idols that are being put forth as like these gods to us in this world. These actors and actresses and musicians and these artists and these people that have all of this influence and just clout and just they are portraying what a strong woman should be, and it's totally opposite of what God wants a wife to be, you know what I mean? Or what God wants his daughters to behave like. And
Yeah.
I really think that like one of the biggest struggles, especially in marriage, is making sure that what you were saying, really focusing on what does God want me to do? Like
Hmm.
what is going to honor God in the situation, because it really doesn't matter what GC thinks, and it's not degrading us. And it's not saying that we can't have opinions, and it's not saying that we are worthless, but our worth comes from him, not in our opinion,
Hmm.
right?
And I think the word submission. I think a lot of people they look at it like a woman has to stay at home, cook and clean,
Mm,
not have a job or a business, or they take it as this negative word, and they don't take it for what it is, which is spiritual.
mhm.
Spiritually being submitted to your husband doesn't mean you can't have a job, doesn't mean that I definitely don't cook every night. I mean, it's definitely a goal, but sometimes I put a Tostitos pizza and that's what we're going to eat for supper that night,
Yep.
you know? And and there's no shame in that. And I think people have just twisted the submission of a wife into this thing that it's really not, and they want to turn
Yeah.
it into this negative light. Now, if you do that, that's absolutely amazing. I think a stay-at-home mom has is one of the biggest jobs in the world. I think a stay-at-home wife, you still have, a job, but I think people have turned it into this thing that being that is such a bad thing. And it's
Yeah.
fine if you have a job, you still can be a submissive wife. If you're at home, you're being submissive is not cooking and cleaning, and that's not what defines us. Being a submissive wife is being submissive to your husband as a spiritual leader. Being a submissive wife is praying, fasting for your husband, because people forget, you know, we are one. Me and my husband are one person.
Yeah.
And if we're one of us are struggling, we're both struggling. And it's a difficult thing to go back and forth with. And that's something that I think people just have misconstrued with the media and everything, that it's such a bad thing.
Mhm.
Submissive is just a bad word. It's a dictatorship. You can't be submissive to your husband. I am submissive. Spiritually, I am submissive to him because that's what God calls me to do. I pray for him, I fast for him, and I am submitted to him as a spiritual, and in the spiritual aspect, I'm submitted to
Mhm.
who he is. But I still have a job, and I don't cook every night. I clean the house to the best of my abilities, but right now I've got a hamper full of clothes that I need to wash, and
Mhm.
that's okay. But being submitted, I guess I'm trying to reiterate here. Being submitted is not what the media puts it out to be.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, that word just scares people away. And I don't think we understand that it doesn't it doesn't mean like the work of the house. Yes, we are keepers of the home, but that also means the atmosphere. I mean, I was
Mhm.
just talking about this with another past guest, we are in charge for the words that we're saying and how it's making people
Mhm.
feel in our house. So, submissive is not saying that we don't have that influence still. There's nothing that can take away our power of influence. That's a gift from the Lord. But it's realizing that our influence is also in the spiritual, and if we are not allowing the Lord to guide us and being the wife that our husbands need, we can steer our husband's spiritual life in another way.
Mhm. And I'll say this to kind of, speak on that. There's a minister in our church, me and my husband really, look to. He's definitely a mentor to us. And he looked at me one night and he said, "You can make or break his ministry." And that's something that took me back because I was like, why am
Mhm.
I responsible? But you look at it, we're one flesh. And something that I do, and I've seen it happen, and it breaks my heart to think that if I do something, and it goes to this, something I post on social media, something I say to somebody, I represent his ministry and I could make or break it.
Yeah, exactly. And it reminds me of all the biblical examples of women who basically steered the heads of the men of God in their life. And, I mean, I think of Abraham and Sarah, when they were Abram and Sarai, and how she was like, "Hey, listen, I know, apparently God's supposed to give me this child, but it hasn't happened yet. So here, take my handmaiden, and you have a child with her." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and I know that's a little extreme, but I think those stories are there for a reason, and it might not be obviously that extreme in real life, but it's just like, you know, oh, God gave you a promise. Well, it hasn't happened yet. So here, why don't you take this other suggestion of this thing, um, and maybe, it'll be better than what God promised you. So I want to obviously lighten this a little bit just because I know I could talk about this forever, like I was saying, but
Yes.
this is such a really powerful subject and I would love to keep going, but we'll have to do a part two maybe when you guys have, reached another milestone. I would love to have you back on
Yes.
and let us know what else you've learned. But I want to really talk about fashion because your account is so fun and it's so
Thank you.
useful. And I mean, I look at the post and I'm like, oh, she is just like, this is just her. Like, she's just sharing, like, it's just so natural. And I know you're not trying to put up a front. Like, if I try to do a fashion blog, you could tell I'd be like trying hard because I am not that type of person, even though I love to draw fashion stuff. But uh, how did you, how did you get started sharing your looks on social media?
Well, my mom will tell you when I was very young, I dreamed to be a fashion designer. And I would sketch and sketch and sketch. And I
Love it.
wanted to start my own line and all that. And then once I got older, I think I looked today, thinking about tonight, I was looking today and I found my first outfit post from 2014 where I had somebody take a picture. And I think it was before like all the fashion bloggers kind of got being a fashion blogger was famous. I'm
Hmm.
not saying I was like an OG, but I kind of went, scrolled back down a little bit. But and that's kind of I've always had a passion for, clothes and shopping. I'm a shopaholic. Regretfully, it's not okay, but I am. And then I always love sharing and showing people that modesty is not boring. That's
Hmm.
definitely something that's my main. I just want to show people that being modest and being submissive to God and what God wants for me and my lifestyle is not boring.
Yes, I agree, and I think that's one of the things that people can get hung up on, um, because I don't know, it's just that mindset we have to get past. I know for me, I wasn't brought up in the church, so it was very different when I started being modest. Um, I had to find my style again, and I don't think I've ever found my style still. But, you know, you just try different things, and,
Mhm.
I think now I know kind of like what works for my body type. You know, you were talking about we were talking about before, and, you know, submission in marriage. Well, modesty, like you said, is submission to God, and I think that's just a
Mhm.
good segue into this topic because so many young people, I think, are, getting this inspiration now from modest fashion bloggers online, and I think it's so awesome because years ago, we really didn't have that. Like,
Mhm.
when I came to church, I think it was in '07, and maybe there were people doing stuff, but it wasn't like Instagram wasn't around. Maybe people were sharing stuff on Facebook, but it wasn't really the scene there. Um, and so I had to just kind of like find what worked for me. But now I
Mhm.
can get so inspired by just, you know, pulling up the app and seeing all these amazing apostolic women, you know, you obviously included, just sharing these fun looks and reminding me that modesty doesn't have to be boring or frumpy or it's not something to feel shame over. I feel like sometimes people have this idea of like being modest means I don't need to draw attention to myself. I need to be quiet. And I'm not saying that, you know, obviously our spirits need to be that way. And we have to be careful, you know, certain things that will portray a certain idea, especially if it doesn't honor God. But I think that doesn't mean that we can't have fun and we can't just explore and experiment with our modest fashion.
And you know, that brings another thought to my mind. A lot of people just think of God as like this serious, you know, doomsday, you can't do this, you can't do that. And as I think of Jesus when he was on the earth and he had his 12 disciples, I believe they were his best friends. I believe he laughed, he picked jokes because he was just like us, he was flesh.
Yeah.
And I see God as this positivity, brightness, light. And I want to have that same, if I'm going to be like Christ, it says the joy of the Lord. I want to bring the light, the positivity, the brightness, the smile. I catch so many people that are Christians, and I know that they have a walk with God, but they walk around in the gloom and doom. And
Yes.
I'm the type, I smile and wave at everybody. Like, I'm just going to act like you're my best friend, even if we've been talking for 5 seconds. But there's a lot of people that just don't shed that light because they just see modesty and they see being apostolic. They see all of this as just like doom and gloom, and I got to keep my head down. And I don't believe that that's how God intended it.
I agree, and I definitely think that it is something that um, God gave to us as a gift so that we can stand out for His glory. I've heard it many times. Somebody said that, you know, a woman's greatest witness is that she's wearing a skirt. A man, you know, wears men's clothes and people might not think he's a Christian, but when a woman walks into a room and she's wearing a skirt, people know she's different.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. It's the reason why even growing up, I wasn't apostolic, but it's the reason why if we did go to a church, we wore dresses and skirts.
Mm-hmm.
You are dressing up to go to the house of God. And even now today, people show up at churches and they wear skirts. And then, you know, Monday morning, they put back pants. But what God really wants us to do is understand going back to our roles as females and roles as males and you know, not wearing what pertained to a man, you know, and it's okay. We are not supposed to be like men because God made us so much more special and has a special place for us in his kingdom in ministry. He just has so much purpose for us that sometimes people and I think some just ladies feel like there is no purpose
Mm-hmm.
for them and that modesty is like this big heavy bag that they have to carry around and they don't want to explore with it and you know God will bring certain convictions to different people and I respect those but I don't think that that's going to be all of what God wants us to do with modesty.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How would you encourage the ladies out there who are struggling with dressing modestly? How would you encourage her to stick with it and to try to be joyful about it?
The one recommendation that I know is tried and true is prayer. You know, the thing is, if God has placed it in your heart, the devil is not, one thing that I've learned is the devil is not going to put something positive or something that, would be godly in your heart. The devil's not going to tell you to go and witness to somebody, and so when God places something in your heart, stick true to that, stick true to that conviction, stick true to that life change, and be unregrettably you. Be who God has called you to be. I know it's so easy to see all of the social media and the TikTok and how, girl, it's comparison, and seeing that and seeing how guys, react to that. It's so easy to just want to go to that and be like that and want to be seen. But I met my husband, and I will tell you, I was not wearing anything that drew to my body, because I'm more than my body. I'm not defined by what my body is shaped like. I'm
Mhm.
defined by my heart. And I think that something so beautiful and powerful is to be defined by your heart. So the advice that I can give is just pray and stay true to what God is calling you to do.
Amen. Absolutely. That's so encouraging. I love that. I love it so much, and I think we need to hear that more often, and I hope that people are encouraged when they hear this, and I'm sure that someone is going to walk away having a newfound appreciation for, just the opportunity to be modest. And I think that's one thing that I learned is just being appreciative of the opportunity to be that witness. I can't tell you how many times people have asked me about the skirts, or even for my unsaved family, asking questions and seeing how long I've stuck with modesty, and seeing that, oh, JC, she is serious about this. And they know that it's more than clothes. Yes, we can have fun with it, of course, but it's the commitment to God. It's that submission
Mhm.
to God. And that's really what's in the forefront. And people are going to notice that for sure.
Yes.
So what we just talked about social media kind of goes into my next question, and how we have the opportunity to just use our voices to minister to others, not just visually, but also what we say online. If you show up dressing modest, people are going to notice that online and off, but that gives us an opportunity to speak to them about God. And so I think it's just an incredible, incredible new level for ministry. And I want to know what you think are some of the pros and cons to having that opportunity to use our voices to minister on social media.
I've had social media for a long while, and I've definitely seen the ups and the downs. I mean, I'll start with the downs because I feel like there's cons, but there's so many pros. I mean, of course, I actually posted about this a few weeks ago, the spirit of comparison. And that has been something that has I've been dealing with. And you look at a lot of social medias and the follower count. I get, sometimes I'm like, I've been on social media for a while, I don't feel like I'm getting the follower count that
Mm,
so many people doing the same thing that I do. And that's something that I started bothering me. I started saying, well, it's probably because I don't have perfect skin, or it's probably because I'm not a skinny mini, or have the perfect body, or it's probably because of this or that. And God kind of took me back a little bit. He said, whoa, you know, the thing is, I believe, and I truly believe this might be, some people might think this is crazy. I think God intentionally chooses who follows me, because I think God intentionally wants me to influence them. You know,
mm,
I do have a smaller influence base, but every single person that messages me, I've had so many messages about people fighting depression, about people looking at being apostolic, people who are just lost and need some guidance. I feel like I've reached, if I only have 10 followers and I reach every single one of them, I feel like I've done my due diligence on social media.
mhm,
Because I don't want to be just a fashion blogger. I want to be a minister. I want to empower. My pastor preached this about the pulpit, and he spoke about how social media is your pulpit. What you post could either negatively harm somebody, or it could lead somebody to Christ. And so that's what I strive to do every day, is just lead someone to Christ. And I just post being real. And that's something I feel like, like with the comparison, you feel like you have to live up to this persona
Yeah.
that I have no life problems, I'm perfect, my house is perfect, my family's perfect. And it's
Mm.
just not realistic. I think people need to see more of this. I don't have it all together.
Mm-hmm.
God didn't call me to have it all together. If God wanted somebody perfect, he would not have chosen me, because I am way far from it on left field. But, God called those who are willing. God calls those, he doesn't call the perfect. He doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
my brother always says this: God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I believe social media is a ministry. A lot of people think, social media is of the devil. And yes, it has these awful things, but I believe it's a ministry. But it's so easy to just slide into that comparison of, well, I'm not like her. My hair's not like her. My body's not like her. But I I try to steer away from that, but the devil can creep in so easily. And I feel like,
Yeah.
I think Kaylee Bernard said this: God doesn't call all of us to be influencers. And that's okay. God doesn't call everybody to have 14,000 followers, and that's okay. The people who do, that's absolutely amazing. And Mandy has, I don't even know how many she has. I lose count when she does her giveaways of how many she has.
I know,
And
it's crazy.
she has this great follower base, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And she is, fashionista 101, but she reaches that follower base, and that's her calling. But my calling is different, and that's okay. you know and if you don't have but 1,000 followers, you know what, work to reach that base. you
Yes.
know but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the spirit of comparison just creeps in, and that's what can get us. The pro side of it, like I said, it's a ministry. I've had people message me, and I lifted their spirits up, not for my glory, but for God's glory. And I feel like I try my best to share God's love. More than anything, I just want people to feel worth and feel love, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what God feels for everyone on this earth. Even people we don't like, we don't agree with,
Right.
God loves them. And we have to show that to every single person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an opportunity to, going back to that, keeping our flesh in check, and making sure that we still have our God filter on. And
Mm-hmm.
and whatever we do, whether we're at work or we're online, it doesn't matter. We could be at the grocery store, or we could be at home. We should still behave the way God wants us to behave. That's the bottom line. And I think it's very easy for us to have that comparison because we see so and so doing this and it's great. And we kind of have that desire to maybe do the same things or have the same things, but we are not supposed to covet each other's things. We're not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to want each other's things. And it's okay to have the same goals as somebody else. And that's not what we're saying, but we shouldn't have that jealousy within us or that bitterness within us if somebody is doing something or has something. And we all have struggled with it, but we have to remember that social media really can be such a beautiful place for ministry, and God
Mm-hmm.
is using social media. We would never be able to meet this person in real life because they live somewhere else, but on social media, you can meet a lot of people all over the world. We are really at a pivotal moment where
Mm-hmm.
we can reach the whole world with the gospel if we are in our right mind and we are willing to do so.
Yes. And, I posted on Facebook the other day, if you focus solely on others' ministries and blessings, you can easily forget where God's put you.
Yeah.
God's made your platform specifically for you. And God has somebody out there. Somebody could be following you right now that you have no idea who they are, but they're watching you. they see something different. And we have to keep that mindset. We can't post negativity. We can't drink the Kool-Aid, as they say. You can't follow into
Mhm.
that negativity. You have to keep the positivity. There's so much negativity on social media that no wonder the world's in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But we have to be that light. We have to show that light.
Yes, and I really do think that this also takes us into what I want to talk about next is aware of where we're at mentally. Social media can really be that con for us, um, and bring us down paths we never thought we would go. And, I know you are a mental health advocate, and I appreciate your passion for it so much. And I mean, when you've shared some personal posts, I was like, oh my goodness, go ahead, girl. You are being so vulnerable right now. And we need it. We need it so much. And it will bring a level of depth to your ministry because you're just being relatable and sharing your experience. And that's, I think, what is the biggest thing about Instagram is we're letting people into our experiences, right? We're giving little
Mhm.
glimpses into our world. And if they're all like perfect in front of all these colored walls, which are fine, but if we never share like some real stuff once in a while, we might not be able to reach certain people that need help. I'm going to leave this up to you, but obviously, this is something that I'm curious about. What God has taught you through your own personal experience with mental health.
Absolutely. So, I've always been open and honest. And, this is something that people deal with a lot. And that's depression and anxiety. It's a dark place to be in. And a lot of people just push it off as, oh, well, you're just sad. You're just this. You're just that. And it's a real struggle. And I think that the apostolic community has really been opening up to
Mhm.
seeing the issue. My pastor is one. He, was speaking to the church the other day, and I know he's posted it on social media that he is, when somebody comes to him, first and foremost, when you go to him, he says, I believe God can heal you, but we're going to pray about it and see what God wants to do with this. Because I will say, there's no shame if you have to be, if you have to take medicine, if you have to get your, get
Mhm.
hormones or get something in line, that's totally fine. But first and foremost, we have to have faith and trust that God can heal us. But one
Yeah.
thing that I had to do, and this was hard, but I had to look in the mirror and say, Brooke, you're more than this. And when you're in that place, it's easy to just kind of get stuck in this mindset where you almost love the affliction, the tension of the affliction. You love
Mhm.
the almost the reactions you get more than you believe in God for your healing. And it was something that I had to look in the mirror and say, okay, Brooke, like like I said earlier, it's hard when you have to do a reality check and say, all right, you're doing this wrong. Because you want to look at everybody else. Oh, they're doing this to me. They're doing that to me. This happened to me. This happened to me. And I'm not saying that any of that is irrelevant, because I've definitely went through some troubling times. But I had to look
For
in the
sure.
mirror and say, that doesn't define me. I'm no longer that. I I dealt with years of anxiety, years of depression, just
Mm.
feeling like I was below, being in such a dark place. And I put on this happy face. I walked out of the house. I was perfectly fine. Nobody knew. And the first step is realizing that there's a problem.
Yes.
And then the next step is my favorite step, which is but you identify the problem, but you start fixing the problem. First and foremost, I say go to your pastor. That's always my first thing.
Mm.
Whether you want to, the devil's going to tell you don't do it. He's not going to believe you. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. No, you first and foremost go to your pastor. Let him know that you're fighting this spiritual battle, because most of the time, this is a spiritual warfare,
Yeah.
and this is a spirit of infirmity that's on you. And my pastor, he is the most loving and amazing person that you would ever meet in your life. I always say the first time I met him, I felt his love immediately. And so when I knew, I went to him, and that's something that people need to do. The next step, speak out loud.
Yeah.
The devil is so busy talking in our ears. Why can't we talk into the devil's ears? I would wake up every morning and I'd say, I'm worthy. I'm chosen. I am joyful. I will make it through this day. And every time the devil would try to talk in my ear, I would speak to him and say, no, that's not right. That's not truth. And every time he would try to come in, and slowly as I kept doing that, the voices got smaller.
Yes.
Because there's power in the spoken word. The Bible says, in the beginning was the Word. God's Word was powerful. And that same God lives inside of us. Our words are powerful. What we say, they say that the tongue is the most strong. I say it's the most important muscle in the body because what we say can move mountains. And, I started speaking to it. I started saying, no, depression, you are worthless. Depression, you are not welcome here. I am a child of God. And I just kept alliterating that. Anxiety, you are not welcome here. I am a child of God. I just kept alliterating. I kept making that known. You are not welcome here, devil. And that's something I started feeling such strength and I started feeling such joy because I started speaking that into existence. And, I am proud to say that I have made it through. I no longer claim depression and anxiety as a part of my life. And I am proud to say that I've made it through. So I hope that this reaches somebody out there that's in the middle of the darkness, that's in the middle of that time. Speak it into existence. Devil, you're not welcome here. Depression, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome in my heart. You're not welcome in my mind. You have to speak it into existence.
Well, thank you, Reverend Brooke. She just took us to church. Honestly, that was just incredible. That's just so powerful because it's so true. Our words have so much weight on them. And if we allow the enemy's words to become our words, then he has won. But there is so much more that we can do that we give ourselves credit for. And it's not saying that our joy hangs on us. Like you said, a lot of it, we might need another person. We might need therapy. We might need medicine. There are different things that can come into play. But first and foremost is we have to remember that we can't see ourselves as the victim.
Absolutely.
We have to have that victor mentality. We have to realize that God became a man and nailed sin to the cross. And that includes every horrible thing that people have said to us and horrible thing that we think about ourselves. And that includes depression and anxiety and anything that is trying to keep us away from his light, his love, his wholeness, his healing. And, going back to that whole idea of perfection, I think a lot of us get in this mental cycle of condemnation, and we have this like heavy cloud, and sometimes people place that on us. Sometimes it's not us doing it. We are messy human beings and we live among other messy human beings, and I think that's why it's so important, like what Brooke said, we need the word. We need his truth to be that focus. It has to be at the center. It has to be that cross that we go to and just lay ourselves down on it. And I just really appreciate you sharing that with us, because I think that alone is just so powerful. And if we can just practice it, even if the problem doesn't go away 100%, because we might need some help from an outside source, you are still in a better position than you were the day before. You are still in a better mental space. Your thoughts and what you think about yourself will be better than the day before.
Yes. And the thing is, you can't take this alone. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that we have to keep in mind. I've already spoke on how I am. I'm little Miss Independent. I want to fight this by myself. I want to deal with this myself. But we can't fight something like this ourselves. When we're in our deepest, darkest times, we need a friend. We need a hand. God placed people on this earth to be here for you. God
Yeah.
placed, God placed these things, put these things in place. God has created ways to help us. We just have to take that help. And I think that it's so important to just be open about it. you know, I guess for me, my greatest healing is in my testimony. When I talk about it, when I open up
Mm-hmm.
to people and say, I've been through this. You can get through this too. I've been there and I'm here. I've made it. You can make it. This is only a season. This is only a rain for a little longer. The sunshine's coming. God is going to bring you out of this, but you have to take those steps to come out of it. I love what you said about we can't be a victim, but a victor. We have to take victory over it. We can't just say, woe is me. I'm just, in a bad place. So,
Yeah.
so sad. We have to step up and say, no, I'm not taking this. I am worth more. God did not die on the
Yes.
cross for me to sit here and loathe. God died on the cross for me to be a victor. God gave us victory 2,000 years ago, and we have to claim that victory.
Yes, absolutely. That's just so profound. And honestly, it's just something that we have to really put into practice every single day and make that choice so that we can be overcomers the way He's called us to be. And, I really would love for you to let us know how we can make sure that our mental health is actually healthy. What are some of the things that we can do?
I always look at us. We are an empty glass. Something needs to be poured into us.
Yes.
And we are responsible for what we pour into ourselves. So, more than anything, the start of it, I always say, and sometimes I even get annoyed at myself because I hate when people say this, prayer. You know, Seeking God, letting Him fill you up, bringing in that positivity. And, my grandmother always used to say, an idle mind is the devil's playground. Keep yourself busy. It's hard. I know, I say this, if I said this a year ago before COVID, it would be a lot simpler,
I know.
but
Yeah.
dive yourself into ministry. Sometimes ministry can be, like you said, a virtual Bible study. Um, Find that thing that you love and that interests you. d- you know Take all that energy that is put into those negative thoughts, those negative feelings, scoop it all up and let's put it in our cup. Let's take all of that energy and let's go for what God wants us to do. Let's invest our time. If you love to make blankets, why don't you make blankets and give it to homeless? If you love to write, why don't you write letters and send them to nursing homes? Find something there that just is something that you love, that you can invest in, and take all of that and invest yourself. Make yourself busy in the kingdom, and the devil has no room to come in. I mean, it's something that's just something that I've done that is so profound to me. My husband will tell you I hate being still. Even when I'm sick, I was diagnosed with the flu last year and I was up cleaning my house. And he was like, "What are you doing? You're sick." But I know I don't stay still because I always keep myself busy, because I know, like I said, an idle mind is the devil's playground. Make yourself busy. But on the other end of that, I know that I'm probably going to sound like she is all over the place, but take that time for yourself too, but in a way of giving to God, taking that alone time with Jesus. You know, every day I set aside 30 minutes, and in my closet, literally my little prayer closet, I set aside time and I go in there, whether it be at 2 o'clock during the day, 2 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in there. I go in my prayer room and I just talk to my best friend, Jesus. He's open to those conversations. Sometimes I'm like, okay, God, I had a bad day. I had this happen. I've had these thoughts. I don't know what to do. And he comes in and gives me peace. Or I go to him and I say, God, this happened today. You blessed me this way. You gave me favor here. I thank you so much. And he brings a spirit of rejoicing. And sometimes I'll just say, God, like, I just need a hug. I need love. I need something. And he'll wrap his arms around me. We have to be intentional and take that time for Jesus, because that's going to be the best healer for your mental health that you'll ever see in your life.
I love what you said about, talking to your best friend and, just thanking him for certain things. And I think, honestly, if we took time just every day to write down 3 things that we are thankful for, I don't think we understand how big of a mind shift that will be. And if we are not being intentional about making time to talk to God, we are missing out on our healing. And I think even more so, we're missing out on that beautiful relationship that he so desires for everyone to have. And I really love just, you reminding us the commitment to connecting with the Lord and how that is going to help our mental health so, so much.
Yes. And, of course, like I said, coming from somebody, I've came out of it, and having a connection with God, letting him be your best friend, letting him be that confidant, because that's what he wants to be to us.
Yeah.
And just letting him flow into your heart. And I promise, if you make that change, you'll see a change in yourself.
Absolutely. Definitely. Oh my goodness. I'm just so blown away just by how God truly directed this conversation. And I've been so blessed by, just your influence and your words. You are such honestly, just like a firecracker, just like this, like, amazing ball of just like light and fun and just power. And I know that God has just placed some just amazing purpose and calling in your life. And I'm just so thankful for you that you took time to be with us today. And I was hoping you would, share again where everybody listening can find you on social media, and let us know a little bit about, where people can connect to your church.
You can actually follow me, Apostolic Beauty 98 on Instagram. I try to post pretty regularly. I always am sharing something funny. Even if it's just to make you laugh, I'm always sharing, but I'm also sharing influence stuff. I'm sharing scriptures. I'm sharing just my day to day. So you can always find me there. I go to Bethel United Apostolic Church in Olive Branch, Mississippi. You can find them on Facebook. And also, we have a website. It's www.bethelchurchcares.org. You can find all kinds of information where we are, different sermons. You probably see me a few times on there. But I'm blessed to be a part of the most amazing church.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today. And thank you for taking time out of your evening to speak with us. I really appreciate you, Brooke.
Absolutely. God bless.
Were you inspired by this episode? I hope so. If you were, please take a screenshot of your podcast player and share it on Instagram stories, tagging me at Hello Awesome Live. That's HelloAwesomelive. It really encourages me to see that you were blessed. Also, do you want a free digital devotional? Leave a 5-star review in iTunes and DM me a screenshot of the review with your email address. You'll be gifted a digital devotional of your choice as a thank you. To learn more about Hello Awesome, head to helloawesome.live. That's HELLOAWESOME.LIVE. Until next time, keep your chin up, beautiful.